Greetings world, hi YouTube, hi folks, hope you're doing well today, and I got a new video for y'all because I'm going to share with y'all kind of something that hopefully will give y'all a little bit of value. I'm going to share with y'all basically my take on a book that I have crossed paths with in the last year or so. It's called The War of Art, created by Steven Pressfield, former Marine, and learned from him by no other than Joe Rogan. If I can find that YouTube JRE clip, I will put it in the comment section or description of this video. You can check it out for yourself. But this man presented this beautiful concept, the war of art. We're not talking about the art of war. That's Sun Tzu, which is another very interesting character. The war of art. And so let's dive in. Why do I share this? That's not the point. But I've already read the whole book. I highly recommend it. What we're going to do is just go through it. The way he wrote it was all these brief sections. And I just want to share with y'all like my perspective on this because it pertains to all our lives. And it is without a doubt a fundamental truth. So let's dive in. So what we got here, all this is we're not gonna read the whole book in this video, no. But this is the first section that he points out. He talks about the resistance's greatest hits. And what is this resistance that he's speaking of? Is he speaking about Viva la France? No, he's talking about something far deeper. But here it says, the following is a list in no particular order of those activities that most commonly elicit resistance. And here they are as a bunch, but the ones that stick out to me is the first one, starting with the pursuit of any calling in writing, painting, music, film, dance, or any creative art, however marginal or unconventional. The other one, pretty much the same thing in my mind, the launching of any entrepreneurial venture or enterprise for profit or otherwise, such as that calling. And there's other ones like, diet, any program of spiritual advancement, very relevant. Again, that's literally the same thing as the first one. Ab workout, any course or program designed to overcome a bad habit. Old habits die hard. Pursuing any kind of new knowledge, right? And then it says also any act of political, moral, or ethical courage. And in French, they say that the heart is le coeur. That's courage. Last one here. There's a few more. This is the one that actually got me to make the video because I was doing this before I started the video, but now I figure let me share this with y'all because I think, like I say, you're gonna want to hear this. You're gonna want to hear this if you have that, if you've experienced any kind of internal resistance in your life. The undertaking of any enterprise or endeavor whose aim is to help others. Ooh, that's a good one. And then anything with le coeur, the heart. Boom, we got that. That's the first section. Let's keep it moving. There's a lot of things to cover. Resistance is invisible. It's neither here nor there, right? So, boom. Got that one established. It's internal. It's on the inside, not the outside. Whatever is going on in all those neural networks that are in your freaking mind, that whole multiverse that you got in your mind there, that's the internal resistance. That's where it comes from. Resistance is insidious. So it will. It's the devil. Okay. That's the short answer. What else? It's implacable, and he uses the analogy of the alien from the movie Alien and the Terminator. It cannot be reasoned with. It is simply a machine, basically. It's nature. It's a part of nature. Keep it moving. It's impersonal. It ain't personal. It's just nature. And I like this one thing that he says. It says resistance is a force of nature. It acts objectively. Interesting. There's some rationale behind it, folks. Rationale. Dare we say God's work? Could be. Resistance is infallible. In other words, it tells you the truth, oddly enough. it points to true north. And this is the analogy here. Jack Sparrow, Captain Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean, had a compass, and the compass would point to what you desired most. Well, guess what? What you desire most, that compass, what it's actually measuring is the amount of resistance within you. So here's the rule of thumb. The more important a call or action is to your soul's evolution, the more resistance we will feel towards that pursuit. And I'll tell you now, folks, as someone who has, I've almost fundamentally, like an engineer making an assumption while they're constructing an engineering design, I made an assumption that anything I fear, I should pursue, I should engage. If I'm scared of it, go do it. And it's gotten to me where I am today. And let me tell you, it has helped. But I will also say it's been very painful. It's been a painful journey. But, I mean, maybe simply growing pains for all we know. Another thing to point out is another gentleman over here. This guy is Earl Nightingale. And he talked about risk, okay? And I learned this from good old Robert, okay? And he talked about the same thing. And when I'm saying Robert, I'm saying Robert Kiyosaki, okay? Another Marine. And he pretty much said the same point, although he spoke about it from like a kind of a more business, perspective. But the person who's playing it safe is actually taking the greatest amount of risk. Why? Because their spirit is paying the price. A person who is taking the greatest amount of risk is actually playing it safe because they're operating in a much deeper depth to what I would say is probably like, I don't know, the universe or something. But let's see if I can just kind of quote. I'm just going to play the video here.
Without doing any creative thinking.
Because he says it better than...
he's generally working on an idea.
He said it better than I did. So let me find the little part here, and I'll share with y'all. Here we go.
Now, the man who risks his spare time writing a book, painting pictures, fiddling with inventions, continuing his education, is generally the one in this kind of milieu who will advance above his fellows. But the man who risks all of his time on a goal he wants to reach, on a dream in his heart, who stakes his livelihood and the livelihood of his family upon his own brains and the proper use of his time, and tackles the world single-handed, here's the risk-taker to whom the spoils will generally accrue. Now, I'm not talking about the impractical dreamer and stargazer. I'm talking about the man of action who gets out and raises the dust in the world. He might take some king-sized pratfalls and be snickered at by friends and relatives of a more conservative bent, but he'll usually make the grade if he stays with it, and earn their admiration, if not envy, before he's through. You know, one of the biggest factors in his favor is the size of the group he belongs to. We have a tendency to be the risk-taker.
Okay, I want
to find a specific part. Only one really good idea to make it big. Now, the more you think about it and analyze it, the more it makes you think that what appears to be the risk-taker really isn't nearly as big a risk-taker as you might imagine. The cards are stacked pretty well for him from several important standpoints. But as I said in the beginning, the spoils definitely go to the risk-taker. Life is full of hidden contradictions. One is that the man who thinks he's playing it safe really isn't. And the man who seems to be taking the greatest risks, considering the law of averages, is playing it safest. People who do well...
That's what I just wanted to quote because, I guess he's playing the law of averages by taking the greatest risk. He's trying to beat the odds at the very least. So that's interesting. Let's go back to our super awesome, another mentor, Steven Pressfield. Let's see what he's saying here. Let's keep it going. It's resistance is universal. We got that. Resistance never sleeps. It's every day, folks. It's a battle. In fact, he says, the warrior and the artist live by the same code of necessity, which dictates that the battle must be fought anew every day. Every day. So there's that. Resistance plays for keeps. It's not going to wound or disable. It's going for the kill. Okay? And I think the way it kills is that you will die eventually. You're gonna die. You're gonna die. So time is melting right before your eyes, and that's how it kills you. It kills you with paralysis, because eventually, before you know it, your whole life has gone by, and resistance won, and essentially it killed your life before you even got to live it. Resistance is fueled by fear. I would even say that your fear is exactly your body's response to resistance. It is the unit of measurement. It is the feet to your distance. It is what measures resistance. It's fear. Okay, so facing fear, facing resistance, same thing. Resistance only imposes in one direction. This is interesting. And he really insists on this. He's saying that resistance only comes from a lower sphere to a higher sphere. Gee whiz, I wonder where I've heard that before. It's the devil, okay? It's the devil, folks. But it's interesting how he really insists it comes from a lower sphere. I would argue it's coming from our old nature. Resistance is most powerful at the finish line, okay? Interesting. So when we are closest to our goal, that's where we have resistance the most. What is up with that? What is up with that? And if you've ever read any Greek mythology, you've read about Odysseus. I think when he finally got home, he literally had to fight off like 100 dudes or something like that. It's crazy. Anyways, resistance recruits allies. Ooh, this one, I can't tell you. I can and I will tell you just how true this is, okay? If you believe in coincidences or whatever the fuck those things may be, pardon my French there, but resistance recruits allies. So here he says, when a writer begins to overcome her resistance, in other words, when she actually starts to write, she may find that those close to her begin to act strange. Right? You may all of a sudden be engaging with more negativity than what you're used to when you're trying to pursue and overcome that resistance. Somehow, the universe has its mechanisms, and I really do believe that it may be electromagnetic, just like the way the birds fly around. Okay? And, these are things that human bodies can sense. I know that cats and dogs sense this stuff really well. This is why you hear dogs barking randomly half the time. You don't know what they're barking at. They're barking at some sort of frequency, okay? And they can sense the energy in a person, okay? They don't have to be in the same room. My neighbor, I can hear their dog bark when they're like they've detected something, okay? So please keep that in mind, that it recruits allies, okay? Recruits allies. Very interesting. What else we got here? Resistance and procrastination. Let's go back to this last part. Sabotage. They're trying to sabotage her. This is maybe, you could call it maybe like angels and demons, perhaps. I'm speaking as a Christian practitioner here. That's just the easiest way to put it in English for people to understand. Okay. But you can use any terminology or any label that you want. Okay, you don't have to be a Christian to understand this stuff. You don't have to use the word devil to understand what he's getting at. Okay, but the key takeaway, I would say, is to understand that you have to actually pay attention to what's happening around you. If you're not paying attention, if you're going to be one of those people who closes their ears, closes their eyes, and closes their mouth, then you're gonna be trapped by resistance, guaranteed. Resistance and procrastination. Must I say more on procrastination? No, I do not. Moving on. Resistance and procrastination, part 2. He emphasizes it a second time. The most pernicious aspect of procrastination is that it can become a habit. Oh, let me tell you how true that is. It's habitually procrastinating, okay? Terrible place to be, okay? And this is how most people are in school. The vast majority of people in school are in this state, okay? I would argue that that's the vibe, okay? And so, not everywhere, but I won't say more on that. Resistance and sex. Interesting. Why is he bringing up sex? Okay. Sometimes resistance takes the form of sex or an obsessive preoccupation with sex. Oh, yeah. Okay. Or any other addictive habit or any other, I should say, pleasure, just driver, something to quench that anxiety. So it could be smoking, it could be drinking, it could be procrastinating, it could be sex, it could be just anything just to get the edge off, right? Just get the edge off, right? I just got to get the edge off, right? It's that. That's what he's talking about, okay? That's what he's talking about, okay? Sex proves to be one of the most powerful and immediate gratifications, 100%, okay? Okay? Pussy power. Resistance and trouble. Oh, wait, here we go. We get ourselves into trouble because it's a cheap way to get attention. Oh, so true. Okay, that's self-sabotaging in a nutshell. Trouble is a fox form of fame. Yeah. And then you're beginning to justify to yourself why you've had all this trouble. Okay, when as Jesse Lee Peterson would say, it's not you, it's resistance. Okay, he wouldn't say the resistance, but he would say that it ain't you. It ain't you. Those thoughts are not your thoughts. Resistance and self-dramatization. Creating a soap opera in our lives is a symptom of resistance. This one ain't this one. This is a tough one, okay? I can speak a lot on this one for sure. And I ain't the only one. Okay? But talk about like just a Shakespearean freaking roller coaster of a life. Oh yeah, self-dramatization. I got it. Moving along. Resistance and self-medication. Same thing, right? It's just like, yeah, now you're depressed. Now you're anxious. All this stuff. And then you gotta use drugs to get rid of the symptoms. Depression and anxiety are the symptoms. They're not the root cause of what's bothering you. Right? Many pedestrians have been maimed or killed at the intersection of resistance and commerce. Interesting. Resistance and victimhood. Oh yeah, if you can't take any ownership of what's happened to you in your life, yeah, for sure. Doctors estimate that 70 to 80% of their business is non-health related. People are sick, they're self-dramatizing. Yeah. Resistance and the choice of a mate. Oh, here we go. This is like love. Sometimes, if we're not conscious of our own resistance, we'll pick as a mate someone who has or is successfully overcoming resistance. Yes, this is personal power, folks, okay? This is personal power. And so this is what I've come to learn when it comes to personal power. First of all, looking to give more than to get, that's one way to do things. Second of all, what's the second thing? The second thing is that if you're in a position in your life where you are not actually developing your own personal power, chances are that you're going to have to steal it from someone else because the spirit still needs to survive. So you're going to have to go out there and literally take someone else's power from them because you're not generating your own. If you're not generating your own personal power, then you basically are a vampire, essentially, at that point. So, he's talking about like you pick someone who has a little bit more personal power, for sure. There's something about him that makes them what it is about him. I like to use the term synchronicity. Somehow there's something about them that they just seem, they're tight. Their game is tight. Same thing. It's synchronicity. Okay, just like how you're synchronizing your iTunes playlist on your iPod, it's the same thing. Everything's been synchronized. Okay, the mind, body, the whole vessel, synchronized. Right. What else can you say? Maybe it's less threatening to believe that our beloved spouse is worthy to live out his or her unlived life while we are not. Yeah. This is how resistance disfigures love. The stew it creates is rich and it's colorful. But is it love? Interesting. If we're the supporting partner, shouldn't we face our own failure to pursue our unlived life rather than hitchhike on our spouse's coattails? The short answer is no. Shouldn't we? No. Shouldn't we? No, the answer is yes. Should we face our own failures? Yes. And if we're the supported partner, shouldn't we step out from the glow of our loved one's adoration, instead encourage him or her to let his own light shine? So, folks, go start shining your own dang old lights, for goodness sakes. Start facing some resistance. Please. Do it for me. Resistance and this book. Don't do it for me. Do it for yourself. Resistance and this book. When I began this book, resistance almost beat me. So writing a book, 100%. Resistance and unhappiness. We've already talked about that. It says resistance and fundamentalism. Oh boy. So I'm pretty sure a fundamentalist is just someone who like objectively says this is how it is, and they've essentially closed their mind. A fundamentalist is trying to play God, pretty much. Now I do believe there are some major fundamentals, but I also have come to learn you can't know them all. There's so many. There's probably an infinite amount of fundamentals to know of. So yeah, good luck with learning all the fundamentals. I wish you the best of luck. And he talks a lot about this. I recommend buying his book, guys and gals. Resistance and criticism. Oh, here you go. If you find yourself criticizing others, you're probably doing it out of resistance. Oh yeah, I've done that one. When we see others beginning to live their authentic selves, it drives us crazy if we have not lived out our own. Yeah, 100%. 100%. That one fucking hurts. Resistance and self-doubt. 100%. Resistance and fear. Talked about that. Resistance and love. Talked about that. Resistance and being a star. Talked about some light. Resistance and isolation. Interesting. Sometimes we balk at embarking on an enterprise because we're afraid of being alone. What is it? Sometimes we balk at embarking on an enterprise because we're afraid of being alone. Yeah, don't be afraid to be alone, folks. We feel comfortable with the tribe around us. It makes us nervous going off into the woods and on our own. I do believe that, there's the unknown, right? There's the horizon. Or as a astrophysicist studying black holes would say, it is getting beyond the event horizon, right? The event horizon of your soul. Resistance and isolation part 2. He talks more about this. I can make another video about that. But there's a difference between the simple way to sum it all up. So there's a difference between being lonely and being alone. Very fundamentally two different things. One is a place of scarcity. The other is a place of abundance. Resistance and healing. Interesting. Have you ever tried to spend time in Santa Fe? Nope. There is a subculture of healing there. The idea is that there's some things that therapeutic in the atmosphere. Ah, yes. A safe place to go to get yourself together. Yes, a vacation, basically. This way of thinking is a form of resistance. Why are you trying to heal anyways? Interesting. I've been trying to heal for a long time now. The part that needs healing is our personal life. Personal life has nothing to do with work. Besides, what better way of healing than to find our center of our self-sovereignty? Isn't that the whole point of healing? Interesting. So he seems to be really much on the mindset of the work is the cure. And I think I agree. Especially as Robert Greene would point out, this is the pursuit of your life task. Okay, and what is a life task? Life task is the task that you're meant to do for your life. Okay, it is meant to do. That's what you're meant to do. That's why you were born. And if you don't know it, well, go find out. Go figure it out. Go find out what your life task is. Chances are, it's more real than anything you've ever known. Resistance and support. Interesting. Talks about support. Seeking support from friends and family is like having your people gather around you at your deathbed. It's nice, but when the ship sails, all they can do is stand on the dock waving goodbye. So this journey is a journey that you can only really truly do alone. There's no other way to do it. There's no other way to do it. Because I think maybe because human beings, we're all kind of mortal beings, right? I mean, we may have incredible other things, but we're still mortal. We're still mortal creatures. We're still bound by the earth. Okay, and we're still bound by all the earthly qualities that make the earth, and the king of the earth, not the king of, say, the heaven. Okay, there. Not the kingdom of heaven, kingdom of earth. Two different kings. Keep that in mind. There is a king here on earth, folks, and it is the spirit, the great spirit. I If I'm not mistaken, it's the Great Spirit. What is the Great Spirit? Don't exactly know, but it's yeah. So we'll leave it at that. But the point I'm trying to make is that this journey is meant to you're meant to do this on your own, And the thing is, I think you can gain strength from the universe, right? But it's a spiritual thing. Okay, it's an internal thing, and if you can go find God, and if you want to find another source, by all means. But the word God has been very effective for where I'm at in my journey, and that's all I can say on that. And God is like this. I don't even know. Resistance and rationalization. Rationalization is resistance right hand man. Oh boy, its job. Oh, so this is like rationalizing ways out of situations, right? Don't knock rationalization, because being rational is powerful, but is it the only way to do things? This one is very messy for me. I'll be frank, folks. This one's a tough one, but because rationalizing. Oh, I don't want to go to this because of that. Oh, they had too much orange juice, or I don't have the right shoes, or whatever excuse you can think of. Basically, what he's saying is excuses. And he goes more into that. He says it can be beaten, though, which is good. That's very good. If it couldn't be beaten, there would be no Fifth Symphony, no Romeo and Juliet, no Golden Gate Bridge. It can be beaten, folks. So I'm pretty sure on this note, resistance is meant to resist a practical objective. All these things that he pointed out, the Fifth Symphony, Romeo and Juliet, Golden Gate, they're all practical things. One is a song. The other is a play. The third one is a physical engineering bridge. They all are practical goals. Keep that in mind. So practical goals, practical solutions. Book 2. Now he says this whole book is about combating resistance, right? And he talks about the difference between professionals and amateurs. Professionals will still do it. They will still fight resistance even when they don't feel like it, right? The moment an artist turns pro is as epochal as the birth of his first child. And so the amateur plays for fun, right? But the professional loves it so much he dedicates his life to it. He commits full time. He turned pro, right? Tiger Woods turned pro. He may be. Oh, he talks about, what is this? Malcolm reckoned another deeper truth, that by performing the mundane physical act of sitting down and starting to work, he set in motion a mysterious but infallible sequence of events that would produce inspiration as surely as if the goddess had synchronized her watch with his. What goddess is he speaking of? Someone once asked Somerset Maugham if he wrote on a schedule or only when struck by inspiration. I write only when inspiration strikes. Fortunately, it strikes every morning at 9 o'clock sharp. That's excellent. That's a pro. What a writer's day feels like. Oof. You can, if you buy his book, you can read that. How to be miserable. Interesting. What is he talking about? In my younger days, dodging the draft, I somehow wound up in the Marine Corps. Oh, great. Marines love to be miserable. The artist committing himself to his calling has volunteered for hell. By the way, if you want to get to heaven, you got to go through hell. That's the story of Dante Inferno, which was actually what I was planning to read tonight. Okay, so if you want to go to heaven, you got to go through hell, folks. Okay, here we go. The artist committing himself to his calling has volunteered for hell. Okay, yeah, volunteer. It's quite a journey, I'll tell you now. We're all pros already. Interesting. All of us are pros in one area, our jobs. Okay, there you go. Get a paycheck, work for money. We are professionals, right? And then he's saying, now, are there principles we can take from that, what we're already successful doing in our workday lives, and apply to our artistic aspirations? Basic things. He's talking about consistency and discipline, including we show up every day. We show up no matter what, and we stay on the job all day, and we are committed over the long haul. The stakes for us are high and real. We accept remuneration for our labor. We're not here for fun. We work for money. We do not over-identify with our jobs. It's just a job. It doesn't have to be this like grand thing. It's just what you do. It's simple. Keep it simple. Simple goal, practical goal. That's it. We master the technique of our job. We have a good sense of humor. We receive praise or blame in the real world. Okay? So he's just saying, cut and paste all the stuff that you're already doing to be a functioning member of society and apply it to your life task. That's all he's saying. Okay? And apply it to the part of your life where there's greatest resistance. And that is where, the power of, life seems to come from, or at least a great source. And keep in mind, we human beings we do have incredible dexterity, right? With our hands and our thumbs and our fire-wielding qualities. Okay, so humans have been doing this for a few thousand years now, several thousands of years, and it's gotten us this far. Okay, so if you're someone here watching this video, chances are you're surrounded by technology that's far more advanced than just fire, than just a little. You're not sitting in a cave watching this video, although you could be. You could be one of them van living folk, and living out of a van and straight up, watching this video. Either way, just know that humans have been working on this stuff to at least the technology is, I think, proof of that it's possible, pretty much. For love of the game, gotta love the game. That's what Gary Vee would say. Love the game, whether win or lose. A professional is patient. Ooh, yeah. I think another thing I've been learning when it comes to this theme of patience that y'all need to hear is that patience is... I don't think the universe actually wants you rushing through anything in life. Pretty sure. If you're rushing through something, chances are you're probably reacting too much to fear. Instead, it's not about rushing through things. It's about showing up every day and doing the work consistently. And that way you actually end up somehow getting more work done rather than less, you would think. You would think you would get more work done by rushing, but no, it's about like stability and momentum and going to 0 to 60, and eventually you don't want to go to 0 to 60 and then have your wheels fall off, A professional seeks order, so you want to make sure your car is put together. That's what I'm trying to say. Your vessel is put together, and that's where the patience is very powerful. And this demands that you abandon all expectation. Demand all expectation. Throw it out the window. Your chances are the work that you're working on, is garbage. It's actually absolute garbage. In fact, I asked a chatbot yesterday. I think it was I asked a chatbot this question, and it gave me a great insight. It said, "Why do so many of us get frustrated with our own creative ideas? Why do these creative ideas feel so useless and stupid when they may not necessarily be? Keep answer under 400 words. Also use some similes." And here's the answer that it gave. I'll read the whole thing. "The frustration with our creative ideas is like a tangled vine choking the very thing meant to blossom. This is resistance. There are two main reasons this happens, both rooted in how our minds work and the gap between internal vision and external reality. There is that gap between what your dream is and what's actually in the real world, right? Scientists have tried their best to merge those two using quantified mathematics, right? But it's your dream, it's your vision, the power of visualization, right? As my stepfather would say, and external reality, okay? So, firstly, the vastness of our imagination clashes with the limits of execution. It's like seeing a mountain range in our mind's eye, but only having crayons to draw it. I love another analogy that Joe Rogan says. If you want to do something great, it's like painting a mountain. You know how many coats of paint you're going to have to do before you paint that mountain? This analogy is similar. It's like you want to paint this beautiful landscape, but you have freaking crayons. What a pain in the ass. I've tried drawing, folks. And I'll tell you now, I have a lot of resistance in painting. Okay? There's resistance everywhere. Okay? It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's overwhelmingly everywhere in so many domains of life. So, the question that this book hasn't answered is which resistance do you focus on? And I think my short answer is focus on the one that probably is focus on the one that seems to be the hardest to do. And somehow the universe sort of kind of takes care of the rest. Your intuition starts to kind of fill in the gaps, like water filling in the space naturally. The nuance, the scale, the feeling is lost in translation. This leads to disappointment, making the idea feel useless compared to its potential. And this is 100% just like, you want to talk about like inner criticism? 100%, this is it. Secondly, we're harsh judges on ourselves. Like a parent hyper-focused on their child's flaws, we see every misstep in our idea's development. Others' work gets the benefit of distance, but ours is under a microscope. This makes even good ideas feel stupid before they're given a fair chance. Additionally, the creative process itself is messy. There's trial and error, dead ends, and lots of ugly phases before something beautiful emerges. But we rarely see others' ugly phases. We only see the finished product. And this is 100% why, people that get envious. People who get envious simply failed to really take a close look at the whole story. And chances are, unless you really were sitting there in the room or sitting there watching Elon Musk design his rocket engine. Has anyone seen the man design a rocket engine? No. I've seen dozens of interviews. He has not once shown me his actual day working. Okay? So this is something that you got to realize that this is the power of truth in the sense that it is out there, it's everywhere. So it's so everywhere that you don't even get to see it all because you're too busy watching this video with me right now and you're reading this stuff. You're not actually learning about what other person is working on right now and whatever they're doing in order to have converted all those ugly phases into something beautiful. So in essence, this is why comparing our messy middle to someone's polished end makes us feel inadequate. It's also why you shouldn't do it. Now, right? You shouldn't do it, yet it's our natural habit to do it. So what I've concluded is that I'm just going to have to accept the fact that all my work is going to be absolute garbage. Eyes and the beauty of the beholder. But the most important thing to realize is that it's part of the process. You got to accept the fact that it's part of the process. All right? So don't let that stop you from accomplishing your goal, even if you're bad at it. You're probably terrible at whatever it is that you're trying to do. Whatever resistance that you're engaging with, chances are you're just complete horseshit with it. And guess what? You're going to have to confront that horseshit day in and day out until the horseshit turns into beautiful, fresh green grass, pretty much. What can we do? 1, accept that most ideas have flaws, even those we admire. 2, find kind critique partners, external eyes to balance our harshness. 3, focus on progress, not perfection. I would say the first two, the first one's good. The second one, would be nice. I think that's like a mentor. If you can find a good critique to help you along, that's essentially what a mentor is. Someone who's actually trying to help. 3, focus on progress, not perfection. And then a bad idea that gets us creating is better than a genius one that stays in our head. A bad idea that gets us creating is better than a genius one that stays in our head. Interesting. So you want to talk about closing the gap there between internal vision and external reality. Lastly, the very frustration is proof of our investment. Yeah, this is the resistance. In fact, we can change this word and say the very resistance is proof of our investment. It's like an athlete's soreness. It means they worked hard. So be gentle with yourself. That frustration might just be the growing pain of a great idea yet to come. Beautiful. Well said. Thank you. Thank you. Just all that intelligence. Thank you. Thank you for sharing some wisdom. So, going back to our gentleman here, Shout out to Steven Pressfield. An artist is patient, right? I think he said a professional is patient. Come on. For the love of the game. Here we go. Professional is patient. Professional seeks order. Must I say more? A professional demystifies. Ooh, yeah. Here we go. A pro views her work as craft, not art. Aha. And a craft is art. Arts and craft. But a craft is also practical. It's measurable. It's brick by brick. Right? You know, brushstroke by brushstroke. A professional acts in the face of fear. Professional accepts no excuses. Zilch. A professional plays it as it lays. Interesting. What does that mean? I think if I had to guess right now, that would mean you work with what you got. Okay, so you may not have it all, but you have something. Work with what you got. He gave that look that only Scottish caddies can give. Well, you've got to play with the wind now, don't you? There you go. What must we say more? A professional is prepared. Interesting. I'm not talking about craft. That goes without saying. The professional is prepared at a deeper level. He is prepared each day to confront his own self-sabotage. Oh, man. 100%. And that's just fighting off every freaking thought. And here's the key. You know, you don't have to actually fight off the thoughts. You know, shout out to Jesse Lee on this one. You don't have to fight off the thoughts. You just have to observe them. And it's like getting hit by this wave. It's almost like you just got hit by a mudslide. The thought hits you, but it can't touch you. So let it flow through you. Let it flow through you, and then flow out. You're mostly made out of empty space anyways, right? With all the atoms. Let it hit you. Okay, it's not like the wind where you can feel it on your face. No, let it hit you. Let the thought hit you, and then let it flow out of you. Okay, so that's how you confront self-sabotage. You hear the thoughts, but you don't listen to them. It's just background noise. A professional does not show off. A professional dedicates himself to mastering technique. 100%. The technique is the magic, right? The results is the magic. And then, let's keep it moving. A professional does not hesitate to ask for help. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, this is a tough one. Now, the question I have for my audience here is how... professional does not hesitate to ask for help. Got it. Okay. So then my question would be, who do you ask for help? Who do you go to ask for help? Right? Who do you actually ask to? You got to find the person who can be helpful, not helpless. So who are those people? And I think that's where you got to use your intuition to figure it out pretty much. A professional distances herself from her instrument. It's just a job at the end of the day. Professional does not take failure or success personally. Right. Professional endures adversity. Yes. Professional self-validates. I think it's just a nice little pat on the shoulder, right? He takes external criticism to heart, allowing it to trump his own belief in himself and his work. Resistance loves this. This is what an amateur does. Yeah, this is the David Goggins mindset right here, okay? Turn that pain into fuel, pretty much. He doesn't take it personally. Yeah, that requires indeed strength. Got to be tough, folks. Get some of that strength. Get some of that spiritual strength in you. For sure. No one said it was going to be easy. Professional recognizes her limitations. Work with what you got. And then I saw another incredible analogy. There's one dude that was interviewing all these millionaires. And this one guy who apparently bought a bunch of ships, like hundreds of ships, like freighters. He was saying that like the way to live life is like an elastic rubber band. You grab that rubber band and you pull it to its limits. And that's where you want to be. Thing is, though, you're eventually going to get tired of that holding on to that tension, on that tension. So you got to let go. And it's going to get soft again. And so, but then if you keep it soft, you eventually find yourself unhappy. So it's learning how to engage with the resistance, quite literally with the band, exercise, engage with the resistance, and then know your limits. Let go when you have to. Take a break, recharge, and then get back to it. A professional reinvents himself. Absolutely. Okay? There is no I, folks. A professional is recognized by other professionals. Oof. And then there's you Inc. I love this. You are your greatest asset. You are an asset. So stop treating yourself like a liability. A critter that keeps coming. Interesting. It's like apparently it's a critter. Why does resistance yield to our turning pro? Because resistance is a bully. Resistance has no strength of its own. Its power derives entirely from our fear of it. A bully will back down before the runtiest twerp who stands his ground. Shout out to Jordan Peterson. No mystery. There's no mystery to turning pro. It ain't rocket science. In fact, it's spiritually a lot harder, but it's also even more practical. It's a decision brought about by an act of will. We make up our minds to view ourselves as pros, and we do it. Simple as that. No more questions. And then, this is the last chapter, and it talks about what's beyond it. Oh, man. It talks about angels in the abstract. You do have, folks, you do believe it or not, you do have allies that are out there, okay? Carlos Castaneda speaks about the ally. There's one true ally, and it's out there, okay? Does that make you uncomfortable? Oof. Well, prepare yourself for the unknown or the coincidental nature of nature, okay? Because that's where it lies. It lies in whatever mathematics tries to explain, whatever probabilistic models you want to use, you name it, okay? Because the truth is the most mysterious thing. No one freaking knows what the truth is, folks, okay? The only people who seem to know are like those of us who are willing to admit that we just don't know. We really don't know, So it's like you can't know the whole truth. You probably, chances are, you can know just a bit of it. And if you're, if you can get a taste of it, well, I mean, hey, more power to you. Approaching the mystery. And life is mostly mystery, okay? Dark matter, dark energy, okay? We can't see in the dark. What are dreams? Where are all the aliens? What is unhappiness? What are the evil spirits? What are the good spirits? Is there, what are all the demigods and, what are the hierarchies of angels and demons? All that stuff, okay? Mystery, okay? Whether you're a scientist, theologist, spiritualogist, or any other kind of person, what is love? Super mysterious. Invoke the muse. What is the muse? That's a great question. What is the muse? Hold on. I've heard this term before. What is a muse? I'm pretty sure it's like either a physical barrier or it is a creature. Aha. In Greek and Roman mythology, each of 9 goddesses, the daughter of Zeus and Mnemosyne, who preside over the arts and sciences. Or it says a person, personified force, who's the source of inspiration for a creative artist. Interesting. The quote from Xenophon that opens this section comes from a pamphlet called The Cavalry Commander. Talked about Moby Dick. Oh yeah, that big old whale definitely had some powers for sure. That's a book worth reading, I'll tell you now. I never did find a buyer for the book. I'm not sure what he's talking about. I'm not going to read the whole thing. All I know is that he says, "Rest in peace, motherfucker." Next morning, I went over to Paul's for coffee and told him I had finished. "Good for you," he said without looking up. "Start the next one today." Oh, so I'm pretty sure he's got some stories in here. I'm going to save that for another time. In my little house, you know what? No, fuck it. We're going to go ahead here. He said, in my little house, I had no TV. I never read the newspaper. I was determined to keep working. Oh, man. This is like a long section. Oh, here's what he says. The last thing I do before I sit down to work is say my prayer to the muse. So he's praying to like some sort of like higher power to say like, give me strength, please. And then only then do I get down to business. So yeah. He totally missed Watergate. He was too busy in his work. Didn't even know about all that drama that was going on in the world. The closer I got, the more different ways I'd find to screw it up. I worked for 26 months straight, taking only 2 out for a stint of migrant labor in Washington State. And finally one day I got to the last page and typed out the end. Damn. 26 months, folks. That's 2 years. I never did find a buyer for the book or the next one either. Yeah. He's taking on that writer lifestyle. Oh my goodness. I mean, being a writer, man. A lot of resistance there too, let me tell you. So there's that. And then here's a part 2 about the muse. And then he's talking about some incredible personal stories. He even mentions the daughters of Zeus and Minyamosin. And they got names here. And he talks about more stuff. More things and stuff. I'm sure it's very powerful information. We're going to say that for another time. Testament of a visionary. So he's getting really deep in all this. Invoking the Muse Part 3. I'm going to say that for another time, folks. The magic of making a start. I've already read it. I recommend that you read it yourself. The magic of keep going. Yes. Largo. Who knows what he's talking about here. Another incredible story. Life and death. And this is where things are really nice. I think this model here shows you the difference between the ego and the true self. I learned this term from him, this true self. But, oddly enough, Carlos Castaneda was kind of speaking about the same stuff. This self here, folks, is the Nagual. This is the Nagual. All this is the Nagual. The ego is this little dot right there. And it is the core, in a way. And this is where we reside in most of our lives, is this ego. Because the ego can only see, hear, smell, see, taste, and touch. It's meant to keep you alive on this earth. Presuming that earth is as real as it gets. This true self is not bound by just your body. Okay, Alan Watts talks about this, okay? This idea of consciousness goes beyond your vessel. Okay, your physical vessel is just one part of your vessel, right? There's that aura that people have. There's that synchronicity that people have, okay? They have been able to tap into more of their true self. They've been able to tap in and find more personal power. That's what they're talking about here. And now the thing that links the true self and the ego is this divine ground. It's part of the unknown, okay? And so like you got to expand yourself a little more. And it requires, I think it requires faith. This is how you develop faith, folks. Is that you're willing to stretch yourself beyond your ego and step into whatever is unknown. This is why psychedelics are so powerful, right? Because psychedelics are basically just a forced, hardwired way to make you experience this. It's just using brute force, okay? And the thing is, it's brute force. That's the thing. At the end of the day, though, you don't need the psychedelics for this. The pursuit of art is this journey. But if you ever want to brute force yourself, now you know how. But this is a big part of life, folks, okay? And so this is where, this is it. This is it, okay? This is it for humans. I can tell you now, this model here, this is it for humans. And unfortunately, not all humans get past this ego. Not all do. Not at least in a single lifetime, they don't. No. And that's just how it is. My question, and I've always wondered this, is what would the world look like if all humans would be able to step out of their ego? I have reason to believe that basically we would all be like right there with Jesus Christ. Right there, man. Jesus Christ, he did this. He got into the true self. Okay, and I think his moment was when he was out in that desert for them dang old 40 days and 40 nights. He didn't need no dang, magic mushrooms. He straight up just was dehydrated and literally was hallucinating. And the resistance, devilish resistance hit him full force. So fasting, meditating, all that stuff, okay? That's, those are other methods, right? But like, pretty sure we would all be right there with Jesus Christ if we could all step out of our ego. But that's the thing about being a human being, right? We were born of the flesh. So, it starts there. It starts there. The way we were born, that's where it starts, right? So, and that's why mothers can be so freaking evil all the time, because they go through a lot of physical flesh themselves, right? In the process of creating life. I think this is why Mother Nature is what she is, why she's so dangerous, why she's so brutal. And then you've got God, who's somehow like be operating behind the scenes, right? Devil, God, what else? So, super interesting. The ego and the self. Okay, here it is. This is what makes a human. So we got these two components. Somehow animals have these two components as well. Oddly enough, I don't think it's unique to just humans. I've seen bears be extremely egotistical, whether it's acting out of fear or what. And I've seen birds like eagles and falcons soaring, turkey vultures soaring through the air, so harmoniously with the universe. It's like there is no ego left in them. It's all just true self. So it's got to be, right? He talks about this, and this is what the ego believes. Death is real. Time and space are real. Check out Dr. Donald Hoffman. He has a case against reality, folks, and he's a hardcore scientist, okay? Space-time ain't working anymore, by the way. Death is real. Time and space are real. Einstein was wrong. Yes. Death is real. Time and space are real. What else? Every individual is different and separate from every other. And every individual is different and separate from every other. Oh, yeah, we're all disconnected. We're all, I am here, you are there. The predominant impulse of life is self-preservation. Zero-sum game. Sounds familiar. Sounds like a war. Interesting. And then, here's a whole other can of worms for that one. There is no God. Of course. For those of us who just believe in just Adam, but not Adam, of course there would be no God. Very ironic, given how Isaac Newton was a God believer, right? Anyways, here's what the self believes. Death is an illusion. Oof. Time and space are illusions. Double oof. And when I say oof, I mean oof. All beings are one. Oof. The supreme emotion is love. Ooh woo. God is all there. Man. So, folks, if you want to boil it down to one word, one answer, that's your answer. Must we say more? Universe has a lot of ways of communicating. Experiencing the self. English language, human tongue is only one of many. Experiencing the self. Apparently the word, though, is very powerful. The self is our deepest being. The self is united to God. The self is incapable of falsehood. Amazing. The self is like the divine ground that permeates it, is ever growing and ever evolving. The self speaks of the future. This stuff, folks, you can definitely check out for yourselves. Okay? It talks about fear. But I'm going to stop this video here and, leave it at that, because I got my answer. Hopefully you got yours. I'll see you in another video. Peace out.